My name is Ryan Seaman. I'm the pastor here at Hopewell Baptist Church. And in case you didn't get a chance to join us in worship this morning, I want to give you a 5-minute recap of what we discussed from the Word of God in the message today. We started talking about God and His holiness. We discussed His attributes that He does not share with anybody else. They are unique to Him. They are His incommunicable attributes. And we took this from Isaiah chapter 40, verses 21 through 26, which say, "Do you not know? Have you not heard? Has it not been declared to you from the beginning? Have you not considered the foundations of the earth? God is enthroned above the circle of the earth. Its inhabitants are like grasshoppers. He stretches out the heavens like thin cloth and spreads them out like a tent to live in. He reduces princes to nothing and makes judges of the earth like a wasteland. They are barely planted, barely sown. Their stem hardly takes root in the ground. When He blows on them and they wither, and a whirlwind carries them away like stubble. To whom will you compare me? Or who is my equal? Asks the Holy One. Look up and see. Who created these? He brings out the stars by number. He calls all of them by name. Because of His great power and strength, not one of them is missing." And we see that God is completely set apart. He is completely unique in and of Himself. And this is evident from the beginning in creation. God's holiness is seen, first of all, in creation. God Himself was there at the beginning and spoke all things into existence. If we take a moment just to think about that, that should blow our mind. God spoke from no point of reference at all and created light. And He created the earth, and He separated the waters below from the waters above, and He created the expanse between called sky, all from Himself. God is self-existent and self-sufficient. He depends on no one for His own existence. And God is eternal. He has always been and will always be. Since He is the creator of time, He exists inside of and outside of time. God is self-existent and eternal. We also see God's holiness on display throughout the nations and the way that He interacts with leaders, kings, princes, presidents, governors, all of the most powerful people that we can think of throughout all of history. God is above and over all of those authorities because He is sovereign. God is completely sovereign over all the powers that we can think of. God is all powerful. He is all knowing. He is in all places at all times. No one else has claim to those attributes, only our holy God. God is unique in this way, and there is no one who has power over the King of Kings or the Lord of Lords. He is completely sovereign. We also see God's holiness on display in His personal relationships with us. We see from the Word of God that He brings out all the stars by number and calls them by name. There are trillions of stars that we know of in the observable universe that God has created, and He calls all of them out by name. And the Word of God says that because of His great power and strength, not one of them is missing. In the same way that God sees all the stars and keeps them by His power, He sees all of us in everything that we go through, and He keeps us by His power. Jesus talks about this in Luke chapter 12 when He refers to the sparrows that are sold for just a couple of pennies. And He says, yet the Lord notices all of these. They don't escape His attention. And then He says about us, He says, don't worry, you are worth more than many sparrows. The Lord sees us in every circumstance, both in our sin and also in the moments that we cry out to Him for mercy and forgiveness. The Lord sees us. This should both give us a good reason to fear the Lord and also give us a good reason to find comfort in Him, knowing that He sees us in all circumstances. The Lord is gracious and merciful in all of His dealings. He is kind and He sees us. So we can take comfort in those things. God is holy in all of these different ways, and God is unchanging. He has always been this way. These are the attributes that belong alone to God. Now, next week, we're going to start looking through some of the communicable attributes, the things about God that He shares with us because we are made in His image. And so we get to share in some measure and in some part with certain characteristics that God has. So come join us next week on Sunday morning. Sunday school is at 9:30. The service will be at 10:30. Please join us. We'd love to see you. and we will continue talking about the one true God, the God we worship.